let's start the class. Good evening to you all. Okay, so those who are, I think everyone is online only today. Wish you a very good evening. Okay, let's start the class. Can you please tell me where did we stop in our previous class? Can you please tell me the last point or the last segment? Okay, so to everyone, okay, I wish you a very good evening. Okay, those who are sending messages, okay, very good evening to everyone. Industrial policy of 1973. Vinisha, Kisan credit card we have finished. After that we had one more class. Okay, so one more class I think last Sunday or Saturday, I think so. We had a class, change of class, I think so. Schedule got changed and then I think, so we completed, we went one more class ahead, okay. So yes, I think what you are saying is right. We have finished up to 1973 industrial policy, okay. Okay, now let's continue from this 73. Okay, thank you students, thank you everyone for your messages. Thank you. Okay, so let me start from where I left in the previous class. Okay, so we have finished up to this. Okay, so I think we had our last class 10 days back, either 10 or 7 days back. So let me give a quick recap of this topic and then let's get into today's class. Okay, we are learning about the topic secondary sector. Under this sector, I was explaining about the industrial policies of our economy. Different industrial policies were announced by the government. The first among them was 1948 industrial policy, under which we learned about the reservation concept, and then about under the reservation mixer industry, regulatory industry, central monopoly, like that we learned. Excuse me students, echo கேக்குது ஏதோ ஒன்று கொஞ்சம் குறைங்க, எக்கோ சவுண்ட் வருது கொஞ்சம், எக்கோ மட்டும் முதல்ல வால்யூம் ஓகே, எக்கோ மட்டும் கொஞ்சம். ஹலோ, நோ, ஹலோ, வால்யூம் ஃபுல்லாக குறைஞ்சிருக்கு, இந்த வால்யூம் இருக்கட்டும். ஹலோ, இப்போ ஃபைன். ஹலோ, ஹலோ. So we came across the reservation concept and the mixer industry, regulatory industry, all those things. Then we came across the 1951 industrial policy, not industrial policy, the Act of India, under which India passed the licensing procedure. Okay, it became the Act in India. The name of the Act was called as Industrial Development and Regulation Act of India. Then we had learned about the 1956 industrial policy, under which we learned about the same reservation concept, but in a more clear manner, okay, with much clarity. The Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C was introduced by the government, and then even small scale industries were given importance by the government, and then the Mahalanobis strategies of import substitution, trickle down theory, okay, everything were introduced in the policy. It also gave more importance to the small scale industry under the concept called as reservation of products for the small scale industry. Then we came across the 1969 industrial policy. Under the industrial policy, Government of India, not under industrial policy, it was the Act of 1969, which was called as MRTP Act of India. Under this, Government of India appointed a body called as MRTP Commission. Under the MRTP Commission, it was mentioned that the companies which have a large net worth, okay, they should get the permission only from MRTP Commission to acquire the small company. Okay, why? What was the motive? Just to stop the monopolistic practices of the large company. Then we came across the 1973 industrial policy, under which the Government of India gave the permission to the large players to start the core industries in our economy, because we had very minimal number of core industry, because government was the only one which was taking care of the investments. Government considered that those investments are not enough for the economy. We need more participation, so we allowed the players in those areas. Okay, that we learned under the concept of core industry. Then also we learned about the permission to the foreign investments in the areas of technology transfer. These were the things, and alongside, okay, in a parallel manner, we also passed the FERA Act on the same time. Okay, we got the FERA Act passed in our country, which was all about regulating the foreign exchange transactions in our country. Okay, so these were the things what we have covered in our previous class. Okay, from here let's start from today. Okay, next one is industrial policy of 1977. Industrial policy of 1977. Okay, so under the industrial policy, you have to remember certain things. Okay, on the plot premise you have to remember. Okay, what was that means? This policy, actually we went against the earlier industrial policy announcements. Okay, one among them very important point was in the 1973 industrial policy, I told you that Government of India, they actually gave permission to the foreign investments in the areas of technology transfer. But here, 1977, okay, this policy was announced with a mindset. Foreign investments are not beneficial to the economy. If they are permitted, domestic industries, okay, they may get destabilized. So the foreign investments got prohibited in the industrial policy of 1977. So 73 gave permission, 77 got them prohibited. That's a one idea you should have on your mind, okay. Then apart from that, this policy, you have to remember in one more dimension also. What was that means? This policy was framed based on a certain approach. What was that approach means? This policy, we had implemented the concept of decentralized way of industrial development, okay. Decentralized industrial development, or we can call it decentralized model of industrial development, anything, okay. The concept is decentralized. What is the meaning of the word decentralized? This decentralized concept is against the industrial policy of second industrial policy, because at the time the approach followed in our economy was trickle down, which means from top the benefits will come to the bottom layer. But this one is a decentralized, which means from the bottom level. So what is the meaning? We can understand when we develop the small scale industry, then automatically this will lead to the overall industrial development of economy, and then we gave more focus to the decentralized way of industrial development, okay. National level small scale industrial small industries development corporation, state level industrial corporation, okay. You would have heard about SITCOs, okay, national level NSDI, IDC, okay. Like these agencies were promoted by the government with the mindset of developing the industries in a decentralized manner, okay. These are the points what you should stay in your mind, okay. Now you can copy the content with the help of the slides. Kindly copy the points. So decentralized industrial development, then other points I have given. Then after finishing this point, you add the point regarding the foreign investments. Foreign investments got prohibited. So that should be the next point. Foreign investments were prohibited, which was earlier permitted. Okay, so we got them prohibited during this industrial policy. So it actually created a type of confusion among the industrial players. So at the time, the industrial scenario was not that much clear. It was confusing. Foreign investments, but here, okay, the approach was very solid. Then came the industrial policy of 1980. Industrial policy of 1980. Okay. Next one is industrial policy of 1980. Industrial policy of 1980. Then before learning about the industrial policy of 90, you should have a point in your mind, okay? Because I was explaining in my previous class, India's economic history can get divided into before 1991, after 1991, like that we can have the split, okay? That's the point which I was repeatedly telling you, okay? So, we all understand that most of the reforms took place in our economy only after 1991, okay? We all think, we think like that because that's true also, okay? But we all, certain pages are hidden, okay? Certain pages are not exactly, we are not talking about much, okay? So, which means, before 1991 also, some sort of economic reforms were taking place in our economy. So the major split happened on 1991. Does not mean that till 1947 to 1991 we are doing nothing in our economy. It doesn't mean that no reforms were undertaken. Some sort of reforms actually we were doing, okay. But the reforms, when compared to 1991, okay, all the things were smaller in level. But the year 1980 to 91, these years, okay, many economies, they say that the seeds of economic reforms were sown from 1980 onwards. Which means before liberalization, these years are considered to be the years where the seeds of liberalization were sown in the mild manner by the government. So you can understand that From 80 onwards, India started the reforms. Okay, so in that way, you try to approach the industrial policy because we were more conservative in our industrial approach till 1980. So mild steps. Okay, even here. Okay, so 73, we try to introduce the foreign investments, but here we prohibited them. So like that. Okay, so when the things were in this manner, 80 started. Okay, the sowing the seeds of liberalization in our economy. But the major liberal reforms were undertaken only on 1991. Okay, you have this approach in your mind. Okay, now okay, I'm going to explain the industrial policy. Okay, just a small spark. Okay, I have given about this about that time. That's all. Next one is seeds of liberalization. The years between 1980 to 91. So when you are writing mains, you should have this understanding. That's why I'm telling the point. So nothing. For example, no industrial policies. Okay, we are going to see here. Only I'm going to make I would like to point out that these years can be called as the years where the seeds of liberalization were sown. Okay, now we are going to learn about the industrial policy of 1980. Okay, write the heading, industrial policy of 1980. Previous slide was the seeds of liberalization 80 to 91. Next one is industrial policy of 1980. Okay, so what are the points? Many reforms were undertaken in a gradual manner or in a mild manner. Okay, so what were the reforms? Number one, in the monopolistic and the restrictive trade practices, government made some relaxation. What was relaxation? MRTP company, okay, at the time we are calling that the companies which were having net worth of 20 crores as a MRTP company, this level got revised to, MRTP level got revised to 50 crores. You copy the first point. MRTP level got raised to or revised to 50 crores. MRTP level got revised to 50 crores. Which means the companies which have a net worth of 50 crores alone have to get the permission. Other companies, they will not be stopped by the government. They can go ahead according to their preference, according to their choice. MRTP level got revised 50 crores. First you write up to this, then you write this as the next point. MRTP level got revised to 50 crores and later on to 100 crores. And later on to 100 crores. When means on 1985 we got it revised to 100 crores. So 1980 we got it revised to 50 crores. Then on 85 we got it revised to 100 crores. Okay, so the MRTP level we made some relaxation. Okay, next approach, relaxation in the foreign exchange guidelines. We all know that earlier we are having the act called as a FERA Act in our economy. So later on this FERA Act got diluted. Many stricter provisions were taken by the government in a gradual manner. So we were in a gradual manner, we were inching towards the next act which was called as a FEMA. But the FEMA Act got passed only on the 1999, got implemented only on 2000, okay. So, but the thing is, so we gradually, okay, so after 1991, from 80 onwards, okay, so we are diluting the provisions one by one. 73 it was introduced. So here we started diluting some provisions, okay. So that's next step. So why we call these as a years of liberalization means one example, next example, okay. So it's two example years in. Next slide will give you some other example. First you copy these points. Okay, so we are learning about industrial policy of 80, but before explaining about it, I told you that these years are called as the years where the seeds of liberalization were sown in our economy. Under that, we are learning about the industrial policy of 80. Under the industrial policy of 80, the first relaxation is, we are learning about the MRTP relaxation, and then about the FERA. Okay, so we try to remove some of the sections from the FERA. So we are diluting, okay, we are not that much liberal, but we are trying to be liberal, okay. Next one is, the government allowed expansion of firms. This point, before writing, you understand the point. Here I have given a word called as economies of scale. What is the meaning? For example, if I am running a company, during those days, even though I have got the production capability, I may not increase, I could not increase the production because I have to get the permission from the government to increase the scale of production, okay. So government will tell me this is the maximum production what I have to do. Based on that only I can go ahead with my production. But in economics, there is always a concept called as economies of scale. For example, if I am manufacturing 10 number of cars, then actually I may be able to sell the car at some price in the market. Example, at 1 lakh rupees or 2 lakh rupees. Okay, but here let me give some number, 1 lakh rupees. But if I'm producing some 30 number of cars, okay, when I increase the production, then I may be able to sell them at 95,000 rupees. So when I increase the scale of production, I could be able to sell at the lower price in the market. If I increase them to 100 number of cars, then this advantage will help me to sell at the price lower than 95,000. It's a normal logic. No, when you are doing the business, when you increase the production, so we got some advantage. Okay, so these things were earlier not permitted. Okay, but these economies of scale we started permitting to the companies in a gradual manner. Okay, not in a completely reformed manner. Okay, we are making some mild reforms. Okay, make this the next point. Write the third point. First one is MRTP. Next one regarding FERA. Next one regarding economies of scale. The government allowed expansion of firms to ensure economies of scale in production process to reduce cost. Okay, so it's a one step of, all the points are mains based points, students. Mains based points, so it will be very helpful for mains examination. Okay, next one is incentives were given to the industries to increase the export. Okay, it's a very common point. Directly you can copy the point, self-explanatory. So when you are doing exports, incentives were given to the industries to increase the export of industrial goods. Earlier, actually, we are not focusing more on the exports. We are focusing on the approach called as import substitution, substituting the imports with the domestic production, which means we were aiming to improve our capability. We are not focusing more on the exports. Here and there exports were taking place, but we are not incentivizing the exports. But here we started giving focus on the exports, so that exports can fetch us some foreign exchange earnings. So incentives were announced by the government, okay, for incentivizing the exports. But we did not become the open economy. But somehow, some sort of export incentives were initiated by the government during the 1980 industrial policy. Then, this is one part, okay. But after that, in 1980, during 85 also, on 1985, government made some other announcements. For example, recently, you all would have heard about a concept called as a production-linked incentive in our economy. In economic survey also, it has been mentioned by the government. Last year, March 2020, government has made the announcement. For example, handpicking some of the sectors which has got more scope to perform in the economy, and then telling them when you increase the production, incremental sale, government will give incentive 4 to 6 and all like that, 4 to 6% like that. You would have read in the current affairs, okay, or in economic survey. During those years, the same thing, same idea was launched by the government with some other word, okay. What were the terms means? At the time, government made the announcement that I am going to give more support, okay, more financial support or policy support for the people, those who are coming forward to open the industries in the sunrise area. So the word is sunrise. So we know that sunrise means these are the industrial areas which are going to boom in the future, okay. So which are going to dominate the future. Example, at the time, biotechnology, computers, electronics. So these things and all were declared by the government as telecom. So these industries were called a sunrise industry. So we were making some announcements. So when the people are coming forward to open the industries, government will give them the fiscal incentives and government will give the policy-wise support. These things were announced by the government, okay. So these things and all happen. Then as I told you earlier, during 1980, the MRTP level got revised to 50 crores. Then around during 85, it further got revised to 100 crores, okay. Like this, government made some changes also, okay. Now you copy the next slide. Sunrise, this point I failed to mention, okay. During the time, we all know that during the 1973 industrial policy, the foreign players were allowed to invest only 1/4 of investments, which means major 3/4 will be under Indian hands. But during the 1985, it was announced that foreign players can hold their ownership up to 49%. So it's almost nearer to 2/4. It's one of the significant announcement of announced during 85. These 85 announcements were made as the changes within the 80 industrial policy. Okay. So foreign investments were permitted up to 49% in the later years. Then special focus on sunrise. The industries which are going to boom in the future are going to play a major role in the economy were given special focus by the government. Example, telecom, computers, electronics. and then you can add biotechnology. These industries were given more focus by the government, okay. Okay, so now we are done with the 80 industrial policy and the happenings at the time, okay, the announcements made by the government at the time. Now we are going to step into the landmark industrial policy of our economy, the industrial policy of 1991. Okay, next one is, have you all copied up to this? Today I am trying to go slow, students, because I'll be having some students in offline mode every time. Few students, by looking at them, I could be able to understand whether you copied or not, okay. But today I don't have, everyone is online. Just to check whether how I'm doing. If I check the phone, means the flow will be affected. So I'm trying to be slow down my lecture, and then copying time also I'm giving extra time. Okay, so comparatively. Okay, so now next one is the industrial policy of 1991. Industrial policy of 1991. You all know that the industrial policy of 1991, we call it by the name called as a LPG reforms. We call it as LPG reforms. Liberalization, privatization, globalization. Also we call it by the other name called as the Rao Manmohan reforms. All the names are there in slide, okay. LPG reforms, or we call it as economic reforms, or we call the period as post-liberal period. Mains angle, it's a very important segment because we got a topic in our main syllabus. Effect of industrial policy on our economy. Changes in industrial policy and their effects on industrial growth. That's one part of our syllabus. And then, effect of liberalization on our economy. So, every year, minimum 1 or 2 questions they are asking from this area. So, we're going to, not only this area, entire industrial sector, entire topic, okay. Next slide is the policy. Industrial policy of 1991 is also called as New Economic Policy, NEP. Shortly called as New Economic Policy. Or the other name is LPG reforms or Rao Manmohan reforms. Politically, we used to call them, okay. Economically as the New Economic Policy or Industrial Policy. Politically as the Rao Manmohan reforms. Okay, now we're going to learn about this industrial policy. Now let me give a brief outline of the picture, okay, the climate at the time, okay. So at the time, how was the economic climate, okay, the microclimate in our country means we all know that, okay, when you do exports, we generate some foreign currency revenue. We used to keep it in an account called as a reserve account. Reserve account is with the RBI. For example, this year when you are doing 10 rupees exports, and then we are doing 7 rupees import, means we'll be having 3 rupee BOP surplus. These 3 rupees will be maintained in the reserve account with the RBI, okay. Next year, okay, 10 rupee I'm exporting, but I'm doing 12 rupee import, means I'll be end up with minus 2 rupee BOP, okay. So it's called as a BOP deficit. So what I'll do, I won't be having the money. We'll take the money out of the reserve account, because last year we had deposited 3 rupee in the reserve account. From this we'll take 2 rupees account, okay. 2 rupees from the account. Next year the export and the import, they both are equal, means no impact. The account will be will stay the same. So this is a normal scenario. So here this one is called as a BOP surplus, this one is called as a BOP deficit, this one we called as a BOP balance. But here imagine that, okay, now we have taken from we had 3 rupee, now it's minus 2, we have taken 2 rupees, so balance is 1 rupee. Next year, okay, what is happening is 10 rupees is the export, but 14 rupees is the import. So we got the minus 4 BOP deficit. So we have to take the money from the account, but account we got only 1 rupee. So this scenario is called as a BOP crisis. Already in the economic planning class, okay, I was explaining about a scenario, okay. So same thing happened. So India asked IMF for money from IMF, and then India was indirectly, okay, so we were given some obligations to do some reforms. The answer to the crisis is called as, okay, the industrial policy of 1991 or the economic reforms, okay. Anyway, okay, I would have given some brief intro in the previous class, but anyway, once again, okay, you should know the basics, okay. This is the scenario under which India went for reforms. But many people, they also do the counter argument. What is the argument? No, it's not because of the BOP India undertook the reforms. Even if the BOP problem had not happened in our economy, we were doing some sort of reforms since 1980. So somehow, if not in 1991 means by 95 or by 97, India would have taken some, went for some reforms in our economy. So that is the counter argument. So some people they say that it's mainly due to BOP issue, but some people say no, it's due to India's interest. India was trying to do some reforms in the economy. So the point is very clear. Yes, India was also interested to do reforms in the economy. So the problem, some people they call the BOP problem, some people they call it as a blessing in disguise. Some people they call, it's not only the blessing, even India was inching, moving in that path. That is understanding what it should have. Now next we are going to learn about in the industrial policy of 1991, what were the things happened in our economy, industrial policy of 1991. So we are going to learn about this one by one. Before learning about the industrial policy of 1991, we should have the broader understanding of the industrial policy. Before getting into the specifics, you should have the broader understanding of the industrial policy. What is the broader understanding? This industrial policy, we call it by the name called as LPG, which means liberalization, privatization, globalization. We should know the meaning of the word, what is meant by liberalization, what is meant by privatization, what is meant by globalization. All the three things we must understand. For example, so let me explain that, then let's step into the specifics of 1991 industrial policy. So first of all, what is meant by the liberalization? Very simple. For example, if you imagine that this is the India's economic road. Imagine economic road means before 1991, how was this highway, economic highway? How we had this means, the situation is, you all know that, when we make a travel, we always used to have some speed brakes. What is the purpose of speed brakes? Means to decelerate the speed and to have safety, to avoid the accidents. That is the purpose of speed brakes. But imagine before 1991, how was our economic road, means economic highway means before 1991, it was like this. Here will be having a speed brake. Then when you try to accelerate here, once again one more speed brake. Then once again one more speed brake. Like that we are having frequent speed brakes. So speed brakes, without doubt, it will ensure safety. At the same time, it will prevent the acceleration also. So that was a picture. Before 1990, we were having rules, but the rules were good for the good for safety angle, but economic growth angle, so they were acting as a barriers, acting as the brakes to our economy. That is the understanding. Now after 1991, what happened means we made some changes that we call it by the name called as a liberal reforms, or simply call it as a liberalization of our economy. So what does it mean? What we mean by the term liberalization means, so in this economic highway, earlier we had multiple speed brakes. So what we made, we cautiously, we analyzed the speed brakes, which among the speed brakes are necessary now or relevant now, which among the speed brakes can be removed, which of the speed brakes are not relevant. So safety must be essential. At the same time, growth is also necessary. So what we have done, here we will be having a speed brake. Then we'll be having one more speed brake here. Then we may have a speed brake here. So like that, which means, you can accelerate, at the same time you can ensure safety also. So this is simply called as a liberalization. Just for the understanding, I have given the example. But to be more technical, what is the meaning of the word liberalization means? Liberalization does not mean that taking away all the rules from the economy. That is not the meaning of the liberalization. So liberalization is nothing but it is a process of removing unnecessary rules and regulations from the economy just for the purpose of accelerating or enabling the growth in our economy. That is the purpose, the meaning of the word liberalization. Now we copy the meaning of the word liberalization. Then I'll tell you the meaning for the word privatization and globalization. Now the first one, this definition is for liberalization. This one is for liberalization. Magesh. I'm laughing at your joke, Magesh. And then a few doubts. You kindly copy. Finish copying. I'll address the doubts now itself. Doubts from Sivapriya, Prashant, Cynthia Ashoka, and then Magesh. Magesh is not doubt. It's a joke. Kindly copy this definition. Then you also write this also. This is for privatization. Copy both. Then I'll explain with the example. For liberalization, I gave you some For liberalization also, I didn't give the specific example. I was explaining only in a broader way. So what is a specific example means? For example, license Raj. Earlier we had license Raj, but after all we removed the license Raj itself. Not for the entire economy. Here and there we had license Raj. It's one example for the liberalization. FERA. We got the FERA removed to FERA 2. We moved on to the FEMA. So what is FEMA? It is an example for liberalization. Like that, all the things where we are trying to remove the unnecessary barriers, unnecessary rules come under the category called as liberalization. Then you copy this. Then I'll address your doubts. Then I'll go for example for the word privatization. I doubt a very minimum doubt. That's why I'm going now. It will consume only one minute. Okay, so under the economic policy of 1991, we have learnt about what is the meaning of the word liberalization. Then what is the definition for the word privatization. We have seen the example for the liberalization also. For example for privatization, we have not seen. Okay, we'll learn about it. Okay, so have you all copied? Okay, copied, fine, okay. So now, okay, before giving example, let me clarify the doubt, few doubt, okay. Sivapriya and Prashant, they both have asked doubt about the economies of scale. Economies of scale is very simple. Imagine if I am running a hotel, okay, imagine I am doing a hotel business. Today, okay, the normal thing is the price of dosa or idli in my hotel is 10 rupee or 12 rupee or 15 rupees or 5 rupees, whatever is the price of my product, okay. But if I produce 10 idlis, then I may be able to sell my idlis at the rate of 10 rupee. But if I am able to make the production at 100 rupees, which means, okay, when the production level increases, the thing is the cost of production will come down now. For example, when you make idli and then you make the side dishes, okay, sambar or chutney, everything for 5 idlis, the production cost is higher. But when you do it for 100 idlis, the expenditure what you have done will normally come down. That is a normal production process now. Because I am telling the normal cooking example, okay. For example, when you are cooking for 1 member, when you are doing expenditure, it is somewhat huge. But when you do it for 10 members, it won't be the exact multiplication. 1 member 10 rupee means 10 into 10, it should be 100, but it won't be 100. For 10 members when you are cooking means it will be around 90 or 91. So this you all can understand now. The same angle, when a company is also producing some 100 number of cars, it may end up with certain level of production cost. But when they are increasing the production, so it will favor the output by bringing the cost marginally lower. It does not mean the dramatic lowering of the prices. Okay, dramatic lowering of price and all will happen only when you are able to sell to large customers. Because the point what I am explaining is based on the economies of scale based on production. There is one more point called as economies of scale based on consumption. For example, more people are buying my product, then I could be able to sell more. When I am able to sell more, I will produce more. So I could be able to produce at low cost. That's one more dimension what we have. But simply understand in the production angle. What is the production angle? When I produce more, then comparatively, marginally, அதாவது கொஞ்சமா குறையும் ஒரு priceல வந்து ஒரு விலை குறைய ஆரம்பிக்கும். Does not mean that 10 rupee product will become 2 rupee. So I am not saying like that, okay. 10 rupee product will come down to 9 rupees, okay, or 8 rupees 80 paise. So in this angle, so it is a benefit on the producer side. That point is called as economies of scale. Scale னு சொல்லுவாங்கல, when you increase the scale of production, then the production cost has got the possibility of coming down. That is the meaning of the word economies of scale, okay. So now, and then the two doubts is same. Then about Scindia, so how about 1985, okay. 1985, Scindia, okay, the point is, 80 was the industrial policy announcement made by the government. On 85, we made some amendments or we made some attachments to the 80 industrial policy, which some people call as 85 industrial policy. Some people they call us, they are nothing but not major changes. From 80, they made some attachments or some changes in along with the 80 industrial policy. That's why I told you, 85, we have made some changes, but for 85 and 80, I have given them as a complete slide. 18 the slide, under the heading 80, I have given you the points for the things happened on 85 also, okay. So that's the answer to Scindia's doubt, okay. Then other thing, Chandramohan, okay, example for, yes, Chandramohan has given example for privatization, telecom sector, private, yes, okay. Fine, Prashant, and then Sivapriya also they send the messages, yes, now it's clear, now clear to them, yes, fine. Okay, Sivapriya, okay, Prashant, and Cynthia Asoka 49% and Sunrise, yes, 49, actually, for example, when you look at some textbooks, they have given us, for example, Ramesh Singh and all, they have given this 49%, 85 along and all, 85 industrial policy, okay. But technically speaking, 85 industrial policy are the announcements made on 85, but within the framework of 80, okay. So earlier, previously, even I used to tell those things separately as 85, but now I have mentioned the word 85, but I brought them, clubbed them together under the 80, okay. You can take in this way, okay. So it's a mains perspective angle. So this way you can take. I think your doubt is based on that by referring the textbook. I think you are asking doubt. You can leave it aside, okay. So you can go in this way, okay. So after doing the more search only, so I'm telling in this way, okay. So you can take it this way, Cynthia. Then okay, fine. Okay, now you can copy. Okay, you all are copied now. Now I am going to give explanation for the word privatization. Okay, very simple. What was the meaning? What is the meaning of the word privatization? Means very simple. For example, if this is India's industrial economy means industrial economy. If this is the economy means earlier, you know that we were following a concept called as a reservation. So if we know that reservation, what is the meaning of reservation? The industrial area got classified into central category, and then state category, and then private category, which means privates, even though they have the interest, or even though they have the capability, they were not permitted to enter into this area. So this area, they may have some capability where they can do the business in a better way. But the government will not give permission. Without getting government permission, how they can do business and economy? They're restricted. They cannot do business. But after 1991, okay, so we completely made some changes in the reservation concept, which I'll tell you in the coming segment, which means if this is the scenario, means for example, here the privates are not allowed. Here the privates are not allowed. But after 1991, we allowed the privates to enter in this area also. It is one example for privatization. Now one understanding would have got, which means areas where they were earlier restricted, in those areas they were given permission. So we are giving more space to the private players to operate in the economy. We are giving them more role. That is a one angle, one dimension of understanding privatization. What is the other way to understand? Sometimes here, we will be having a government company. So the privates, they may come in, they may start one more company. For this company, private will be the owner. For this company, government will be the owner. They will do the business, okay, in a parallel manner. Okay, so the government will run the business, private, they will run the business. That's one sort of privatization. Another sort of privatization is, for example, when you are letting the privates to enter this area or this area, here you may have a government company. What you will do means this government company entirely or partially you will sell to the private player. Which means, okay, if this is a government company, so when the privates are entering, what you will do means, government already has got 100% ownership in the company, but now what the government will do, entire company they will sell to the private, which means entirely you are privatizing the company, or else government may have some 50% or 60% ownership, balance 40 you may sell to the private players. Have you got a scenario, which means allowing them in sectors, or within the company you will permit them completely or partially. That depends upon the company what the government has decided to sell to the private, which you will learn more in the coming segment, because now I have not gone into the topics more technically, because we learn about disinvestment, we learn about what is the meaning of the word strategic, what are types of disinvestment, those things and all I will tell you in the coming segment. But now I am giving a very, very superficial example, okay. So I have not gone into the in-depth level, okay, just a simple understanding. What is simple understanding? Privatizing the economy means giving the more role to the privates, which means they are now becoming dominant in the economy. We are giving more role to them. Privates are occupying the areas or getting into the company. When they get into the company, completely they may buy the company, or partially they may buy the company. All these are the examples of privatization, okay. We got many examples, which I will tell you in the coming segment, because following this, we have a segment called as dereservation. Under the dereservation, I'll give examples for this also, okay. So now you may be able to connect with this. But now I'm not going to give the examples. The point is very simple. Privatization means giving more role to the privates to participate in the economy. That's understanding what you can have at this level. Okay. Next few slides, 1 or 2 slides after this. Okay, I'll be giving examples for this also. Otherwise, it will be repetition of point. Okay, same point I would repeat there also. Okay. So now this is the example for the word privatization. Now comes the next definition. What is the next definition? Is globalization. What is the meaning of the word globalization? Before 1991, our economy was a closed economy, which means if this is our economy, means foreign players, they cannot step into our economy easily. Even we cannot move to other country, and then Indian goods cannot easily move to other country. Other country goods cannot come to our country. And regarding our foreign currency, how the currencies are determined means the value of our currency was determined by our government along with RBI, okay, which means we are controlling the currency in a fixed manner. We are not letting them to be determined based on the market. So like that, more restrictions, okay, we are not globally connected, so we got disconnected, and then we are putting more barriers on the foreign investments, on the foreign companies, on the foreign goods, okay, all sort of restrictions we were having in the economy. But after 1991, India got the WTO agreement signed on 1995, and then we became the part of the WTO agreement, which means the common rules what we have for the entire global community is also applicable to India also. So we have signed the agreement, and then we got ourselves globally connected, and then we removed all the barriers. Foreign players, when you want to step into the economy, yes, you can come in. Foreign direct investments, and then you want to invest in our security market, stock market. Earlier and all, we did not let the people to invest in our stock markets or security market. If you want to invest, yes, you can come in, okay. Foreign goods, earlier, for example, before 1991, if we have a foreign good means, if the foreign good is entering into the economy, if the price of the foreign good is 50 rupees, so what we will do means, we will put a tax of 120 rupees on this good, which means the price itself is 50 rupee, but we will put a tax of 120, so overall price will become 170. So which means that was a level of tax what we are levying on the foreign goods. But after 1991, we became more liberal. We started accommodating the foreign goods, and our goods also started dominating the other parts of the world. Okay, that is simply called as a globalizing the economy, or simple line. No, it's getting connected with the global business. Okay, that is the meaning of the next thing, globalization. Now I have given only a very basic definition for the three terms. I not got into technical things. Technical things after this we are going to learn. Some of you may have doubt in your mind, sir, you explained only about the basics, okay, we're not seeing our detail means. More than enough details, we'll see in the coming slides, okay. This is a definition for the word globalization. Okay. For all the three, examples are given in the coming slides. For L, what are the examples? For P, what are the examples? For G, what are the examples? I have given in the coming slides. Okay. So now we have copied up to the LPG. Now we are going to learn about the 1991 reforms in a more detailed way. Okay. Now we got the introduction completed for 1991 reforms. Okay. Now now we have seen about LPG. Under LPG, what are the specifics? Okay, specific things happen in the economy. One by one, we are going to learn about them. Okay. Among these, the first one we are going to learn is called as a de-reservation of industries. Okay, that is the first point we are going to learn. What is the meaning of the word de-reservation of industries? I have told you, on 1948, we have introduced the concept of reservation, which means if this is our industrial landscape means, what the government started doing from 1948 means they reserved the industry into like this. Okay, for example, these areas for central, this area for state, this area for private. Okay, which means privates they cannot enter into this area. Okay, but after 1991, what the government did means, if this is an industrial landscape, now in this area, privates they want to enter means they can enter. Here the private want to enter, they can enter. Central government want to enter this area, they can enter. State government want to enter this area, that's their choice, okay? Which means the economy is open to all the players. Central government they can participate, state government they can participate, and private can participate, which means on 1948, we had introduced the concept of reservation. But on 1991, we introduced the concept of de-reservation, which means there is no sort of reservation. Anyone can open business in any area. But even after this, even after announcing this de-reservation, India did not go for complete de-reservation. We were having some areas reserved only for the government even after 1991, okay? And within that we made some changes, but as of now, at present, in India, only 2 areas are reserved for the government, okay? At present, based on the current scenario, I am saying, only 2 areas are reserved for the government. One is railways, and one more thing is called as atomic sector. 2 things. Now, when I said railways, now automatically some students, you would have got doubts on your mind, okay? Sir, recently I read in the paper, so government has allowed the Tejas, okay, India's first private operated train, okay, Tejas. Or else even in the budget, recently government has announced that we are going to permit for 151 trains, new private trains in India, in the Indian tracks, which means privates, they are going to run the train, they are going to determine the fares, they are going to operate the trains, but you are saying privates are not permitted in the railways, okay? How come, sir? Because it's become illogical. And then, one more thing, now you are saying that Indian economy got de-reserved, but even now reservation continues in 2 areas, you are saying. One you have mentioned as railways, one more thing you have mentioned as a nuclear sector, but nuclear sector also last year, okay? I have come across, not last year, this year, okay, in the month of January, I have come across some announcements by the government. For example, some areas like, for example, finding radioisotopes for cancer treatment, or for using irradiation technology for food processing, or for some startups in doing research on atomic sector. Those areas government has mentioned that I am going to allow private players. But still now you are saying that these areas are reserved only for the government. I am not able to understand. Like that, this kind of doubts or thoughts may come on your mind, okay? It's my duty to clarify those doubts, okay? So before clarifying the doubts, let me complete the point. What is the point is, after 1991, Government of India introduced the concept of de-reservation. Even after introducing de-reservation, some areas are not allowed for the private players. Example, nuclear energy and atomic sector. But within these areas, recently governments have made some changes. What are the changes? I have given in the slides, okay, which you can copy later. But first you write this point, okay, then I'll announce the changes, okay. Now you just approach the point in a blank mind, okay. Don't try to load anything, don't have any doubts in your mind. All your doubts will get clarified in next 15-20 minutes, because with the doubt, when you listen, okay, you may not be able to listen what I am trying to say, okay. Now with the open mind you listen. So after 1991, Government of India introduced the concept of de-reservation, which means no area is reserved for the government or private. Anyone can operate, but even after that, government kept 2 areas reserved exclusively for the government. But in these 2 areas, recently last 1.5 years, government has made changes. But even then, even after doing the changes, even now government says that the 2 areas are reserved only for the government. What logic? How they are saying railways, they are allowed the private players, but how come government they are able to say that they are not allowed for the private players? So I'll justify, okay, I'll explain you the point in detail. First you write the point, okay, one by one, because completely, okay, so if I go means, so you lose your focus. First you write, after 1991, Government of India introduced the concept of de-reserving the industries. What is de-reservation? So I have told you, removing the concept of reservation. But even after that, 2 areas are even now reserved. De-reservation is the thing which happened, but these are the areas which are reserved for the government. Atomic sector and railways. Okay. So this is the content for 1991 industrial policy. That's all. But next slide, what I'm going to show are the updates, recent updates. Okay. So you can write them in the box, or after writing, you can put a box or line. Okay. So to show you the differentiation. Okay. That's purely the current affairs part. So each and every word what I'm using. Okay. So you approach carefully. So in 1991, Government of India had introduced the concept of de-reservation. But even after announcing de-reservation, 2 areas are reserved, 2 areas were reserved by the government. So this scenario continues even now also. But recent years, 1.5 years, government has made some changes. So can we call that these areas got de-reserved by the government? Can we take it like that? Means no. Government says no, don't take it like that, because government has got its own arguments. Okay, what is the government's argument? Now to understand the government argument, you have to understand the scenario first. Okay, now you got the point. De-reservation got introduced, but 2 areas are reserved for the government. Now you have to understand the scenario. Okay, what is the point? Now, railways, recently government has announced that on the private train, the first private operated train, Tejas train, and one more 151 trains are going to be allowed for the private players, which means in the existing Indian routes, okay, the privates, they are going to run the trains, which means completely fixing the fares, everything, okay, and then maintaining, operating, okay, everything they are going to control, okay. So like there, many routes are going to be operated by the privates. Now you may ask, okay, sir, when they do like that, it got de-reserved. No, privates, they have entered. Okay, then why even now we are not calling them as a de-reserved? Means now the argument. For example, now to explain this, okay, let me take another example. For example, when the de-reservation happened, on 1991, telecom sector was reserved only for the government on 1991. Look at the example. On 1991, in India, telecom business can be done only by the government. But on 1991, we got it de-reserved, which means privates can enter. Which means till 1991, we had only BSNL. But after 1991, we allowed the private players to step into this area. As a result, now we have BSNL, we have Airtel, we have Jio, we have Idea, and then okay, in the olden days we had some other companies also, which means we have the existence of the government company. Along with this, we have got the existence of the private companies. We have the Airtel, Reliance, okay. So like that, other companies are also doing the business. So these companies owned by the government. These companies are owned by the privates. The ownership is completely under the private hands. Okay, the same angle. Before 1991, to provide the postal services, India, the only service provider was India Post. Post office was the only postal service provider in India. But after 1991, we allowed the privates. Yes, you can step in. You can provide the postal services. As a result, we have the India Post office we have, but we got the plenty of courier companies entering into the economy. We got the plenty of couriers. So all the private couriers are owned by the private players, and the post office is owned by the government of India. Okay, the same angle. Many examples I can list out. For example, before 1991, we had only Air India and Soluom, or else Indian Airlines. Okay, but later they both got merged into Air India. So before 1991, want to make the air travel, the only service provider was Air India, government of India. But later we gave permission to multiple players. Okay, for example, we gave permission to Jet Airways, Kingfisher Airlines, okay, and then SpiceJet, Indigo. But here Jet Airways, now we don't have Kingfisher. They become bankrupt. Okay, they got closed. Okay, but we allowed all these players. Okay, so like this, SpiceJet, Indigo, which means all these companies are these 2 companies only we have now. This we don't have. So these companies are the private owned company, but this is a government owned company, which means when we allow the privates, entire ownership, the company has been created in the name of the private players. Now we get the plot. So we got the many courier companies, we got the many telecom companies, we got the many air service companies. Like that, when we allow the privates, we allow the companies to be started in their name, which means they are able to do the business under their own name. Whatever profit they make, they will come to their own balance sheet. That is the way how we enabled the privatization in our economy. But here, you look at the railways. Railways, we are allowing the privates to operate 151 trains or maybe 200 trains or 300 trains. Okay, almost we got more than 9,000 routes trains operating. Means among this 151 we are giving to the private players. So here the government says all the 151 new trains are going to be operated by the private. There is no doubt, but they are going to operate under the name called as Indian Railways. Okay, they are not going to operate separately as a Tata Railways or Reliance Railways, Adani Railways. So we not let them to operate. Okay, it is not a separate railway company. Indian Railways is the major, okay, it's a department which is running the business. Under the Indian Railways department, we are going to allow the privates to do the business under the Indian ownership. Able to get the point? Which means they are going to do some service. For example, if not permitted, then this 151 trains has to be purchased by the government. Government has to make the expenditure. But now the privates, they are coming for the investments. What they are doing in Indian Railways, they will make some profit. But the burden on the government will get lessened. This money could be utilized by the government for other avenues, okay, other investments. Able to get the plot. So the government argues that. So this is not the privatization. Economically also, we cannot argue as a privatization. But we have permitted the private. But many people, they do the counter argument. What is the counter argument they are doing? what you are saying is right, we are accepting, but what you have done, okay, is nothing but it is a step which which makes you move very closer to the process of privatization. Now you are testing the waters, you allowed the private players, you are checking whether they are able to do the business in a commercial way, whether it is economically viable to them or not, whether they are running them in a proper manner, how they are operating, whether the safety standards are ensured or not, everything you are checking. So in the long run, okay, what you will do means you will allow now Tata, you can have your own railways. Reliance, you can have your own. But do that, what you are doing means, now you are testing the waters of privates, they are allowing them to test the waters by letting them into the business. That is the argument by the other players, okay. But according to the economic standards, so we can call them as a, yes, railways are not privatized now. Railways are operating under the Indian Railways, but we have given some operations to the private players. Is it clear? No? I think, okay, the concept is very clear, okay. Now, atomic sector also, we have allowed the privates to operate in 3 areas. So all these things I have given notes, okay, you can copy. Atomic sector, we allowed the privates to participate in 3 areas only, not in all the areas. For example, when cancer radioisotopes for cancer treatment, privates, they can do the business, okay, which means exclusively for the medical treatment. Second one, finding some irradiation technology for food processing industries, privates, they can do the business. Then third thing, to have some startup ecosystem for doing some research on atomic sector, privates, they are permitted. And that also, privates are permitted only in the PPP mode. What is a PPP mode? Public-private partnership mode, they are permitting. Not completely the privates, they are doing they can establish their own company. In the PPP model, government has enabled them. So the government argues, no, we are not completely privatized. Some segments we are giving to the private players. That is the government's argument, okay. Now you can approach the slides, okay, you'll get the clarity. At the heading, recent changes in atomic sector and railways. Chandramohan, even private participation is allowed in defense manufacturing. Maruti Udyog, okay, Suzuki, okay, Limited, we have given some examples. But it's a private defense is not, I have never mentioned that defense is reserved. I have told you that only 2 sectors which are reserved. Defense is completely given to the private hands. So not only some example what you have given, Chandramohan, apart from that, okay, defense has been completely given to the private players. For example, even today we got some news about 4 Rafale fighters, okay, the flights are coming to India, like the Rafale deal. Last year, before 2 years back, it was making storm in our Indian political environment about the Rafale deal. So what was the Rafale deal all about? Indian government gave business to the Reliance for them to manufacture. That is the core issue of the Rafale deal and all. So how we can give the business to the Reliance company? Because in India, any private players, they can make defense manufacturing. So here I am explaining about the atomic sector and railways because these 2 areas are reserved for the government. Get my point very clearly. Reserved for the government and reservation, I am telling about the changes. But defense, there is no reservation itself. Defense and all completely it got de-reserved, which means anyone can start business in the defense sector. But defense, you can start the business by getting government license. That you will see in the next segment. Okay, next segment I got segment called as a license Raj. But students, actually I think if I get into your doubts means, okay, here and there, the things will not go in a proper flow. So after completing the entire thing, I think all your doubts will get addressed. After that, if any pending doubts, relevant doubt means I'll address, okay? Because other things here and there going across the doubts means you will be having confusion, okay? So let me finish the point. So for the point is, only for the reserved sector, I am telling the exceptions. Defense and not only defense, when you think about aerospace, whatever business comes into your mind in India, all the business are permitted to the private players. So 2 areas which are not permitted to the private players, only 2 things I am saying, defense and all has been given to the private players, okay, and many players we have, okay, in the defense manufacturing, but these are the 2 areas which are not given to the private players, but within these 2 sectors, what are the recent changes alone we are learning, okay. And one more thing, students, now only we are learning about this industrial policy. we have got many more things. For example, some students asked doubt about, sir, about the PSUs, what is PSU and all. So like that, here and there, if I go means, I think because about PSU, about disinvestment, about licensing, about reservation, about the impact of industrial policy, positive, minus, and then India's improper jump, everything I have given in the slide itself. Okay. So when everything gets completed, I think you'll be having a complete view. So here and there, if I address means your understanding will get affected, I think, okay, based on my practical experience. So at the end, okay, if your doubts gets unaddressed means you post the same doubt once again, so I will clarify. So in the meantime, if your doubts got clarified means, okay, you can leave it as such, okay, because from my experience of this topic, okay, because it's a topic which will trigger your curiosity. So it's what doubt you're asking is a genuine doubts, okay, but now and then if I answer means you will be having the complete understanding, because I may be able to give only partial explanation when I address your doubt, but when I go according to the flow of the class means I could be able to give the complete explanation of all the topics involved, okay. So we got many more things to be covered. We have covered only 10% of our industry chapter, okay. Once we cover the 100%, I think all your doubts will get addressed automatically, okay. Now you write the changes. Sorry, this slide tells about the exceptions given recently regarding atomic energy. And dear students, actually this slide, the coming 2-3 slides will be very helpful for the coming prelims. Other things and all may be helpful for the mains exam, okay, but this slide, atomic energy, railways, may be helpful for the forthcoming prelims. Chandramohan, your points, you are going more, trying to be more radical, but actually that can be right, but UPSC angle, I think it will affect you very severely in the examination. Government are giving profit-making routes to the private. Why can't they give loss-making routes to the private? Okay, so these are looking like political arguments. I think kindly approach the UPSC concept in a UPSC way, because you are trying to become a government servant. Your points are trying to convey that you are against the government. Okay, so always, okay, as a student, okay, so try to be very balanced, okay, so balanced, okay. Even the points what you're saying, okay, as a faculty, I cannot say it's right or wrong, okay, because you got your own right to tell the opinion, but as a faculty, I have got all the interest on you, because I know how we can score. It's not like that to score them just for the purpose of marks, I'm compromising, it's not like that, because things can be looked in two ways. In economics, okay, one side when you look in one way, so you can see only one side of the coin, okay, other side we have to go, okay, so exam angle, we'll be having pros, we have the cons, okay, so but try to pitch, okay, government is giving only the profit making routes to the business, so this and all, okay, points and all, this completely you change, okay, this points and all, okay, otherwise it will affect your scoring, okay. But anyway, okay, so I appreciate your enthusiasm. Okay, next one is establish facilities in PPP mode to use irradiation technology. Next one is for food processing. And some students have asked about the defense. Dear students, your defense doubts will get clarified in the next slide. Under licensing, you'll get the conceptual clarity. And then for any doubts coming on your mind, sir, you are told defense has been given to the private players, but I think defense is only for the government. If you think like that, try type on the Google. The defense companies in India, defense manufacturers, any business, whatever business you get doubt on your mind, I told only two sectors, atomic sector, railways. Apart from this, when you want to have the example for any sector, after the class gets over, You can type on Google, you'll be looking at having the plenty of companies, private companies in all business, except the 2 sectors. Okay, so other than this, okay, in all the sectors we got adequate presence of companies, private companies. Okay, copied. And the industrial policy of 1991 has more negative than positives. This affected indigenous. Yes, we will learn about Chandra Mohan. So about the industrial policy of 1991 impact and all. So I'll teach you. Okay, so we got a segment. What are the plus of 1991, minus of 1991? We'll learn. Okay, because so you're saying okay, it got more negatives and positives means. So we'll learn about that, and then before 19 also we'll learn. So now okay, let me complete. Now we'll look at this slide, Chandra Mohan. Okay. Look at the point, okay? So then when doing the analytical segment, you can do the analysis. There's plenty of messages you are sending. Only I'm able to read your messages. Then third one, startup ecosystem. So the 3 exceptions you have copied. Next slide is about railways. So actually this actually we should see at the last, but to avoid confusion in your mind only, I am showing this slide. Otherwise 1991, only one point we have completed. 1991 de-reservation alone we have completed. We have got many more things under 1991, but without this slide the understanding will be incomplete. That's why we are learning about this. Otherwise the proper method is after finishing 1991, then we have to go for changes. But if I do like that means as a faculty I understood that when I go up to this level in between the main 15-20 minutes, okay, the same doubts will be staying in your mind, okay. So to avoid that only now we are learning, okay. So you kindly write these things in a box. This does not belong to 1991. These are the recent changes happened with regard to the 1991 industrial policy, okay. So write them in a bracket, okay, or in dots, you differentiate the content. Next one regarding railways. Okay, so now we have finished the first point of 1991. The very first point of industrial policy. De-reservation alone we have completed. De-reservation is a process which enables or which provides space for privatization in an economy. Okay. Yes, students, definitely I will give you 5 minutes break. Don't worry. And regarding PPP, some students have asked doubt regarding whether the initial investment will be done. This doubt is a good one. And then not only I think not only Asha, okay, some 2-3 students have asked doubt about PPP. Don't worry. Actually, last class is about investment models. So I already told you in the introduction class. So in the PPP class, okay, so we'll be having complete understanding on PPP because it's a very important portion for examination. Every year after year, at least one question they're asking in the mains examination from PPP. So I decided to take it in a detailed manner. So you asked a doubt now whether the government will do investments, privates will do investment. We got many more things which has to be learnt in a more conceptual way, which will take more than 1.5 hours, okay, to finish that segment, okay. So PPP has got that much concepts involved. So I'll be teaching you very clearly in the last class, okay. So till then, about PPP, any doubt comes means you just, okay. Keep it aside. So all your doubts will get clear in the last class, investment models, okay. Hopefully, I think we got two or three. We got 3 more classes. So I think from now on, okay, we got 3 more classes. On third class will be the investment models. Okay, so at the time your doubts will be clear. So we got very beautiful content for PPP. So I'll be explaining them in a very clear way. Okay. So this is about the railways. So for understanding, let me summarize. We are learning about the 1991 industrial policy. Under the 1991, just I gave some names for the 1991. We call it as reforms, LPG, new economic policy. Then I told you what is meant by LPG. Just definition alone we have seen. Then what are the things happen means we have seen only the one thing, okay, which means what is meant by dereservation, which means going against the concept of reservation. So all the areas are got dereserved. So all the areas, the major doubt is regarding defense, no? Defense got dereserved. All the areas, telecom got dereserved, civil aviation got dereserved. All the areas which were reserved, we got them dereserved. Only 2 areas were reserved by the government. But within the 2 areas also, recently we made some changes. So we have done only with the first point of 1991. We got many more points. We got some 7 or 8 more points regarding the 1991. Now what is the second point of 1990 industrial policy is, I told you on 1951, Government of India introduced the act called as Industrial Development and Regulation Act of India. No, I told you, which means the government was empowered to regulate the business. This act, okay, got diluted by the government. At the time during 1991, almost before 1991, almost 98 industries, they have to wait for government license, okay. But actually government brought it down to 18 industries on 1991, and then 18 further got lowered, reduced, and now at present we got only 5 businesses require government license, which means to start the business, whether I can start or not, yes or no will be given by the government, okay. Now don't get confused with the license and registration. Many of you may be having idea, but the thing is, license regarding whether to start the business or not to start the business, getting the government acceptance is regarding the license. But registration is, I can decide to start the business, but to start the business, there are certain formalities. Here the question is not about whether I can start or not. Yes or no, there is no doubt. I can start the business. The answer is yes. But how to start the business, all the rules and regulations, that is regarding the registration, these things and all, okay. But license, government will check and scrutinize the application. They will give the nod, then only I can go ahead with the business, okay. So on 1991, during those years, 90s and all, more than 98 business segments were coming under the license rule. But on 1991, we got them reduced to 18. Then we further reduced to 15, 12, and then 7, 8, okay, 8, 7. Then we got, now at present, we got 5 business which need license. Remaining business need not wait for government license. What are the 5 business means? One is the doubt what you asked many of you, defense. Defense companies can be started by the private, but all private cannot start the business. Defense applicants, they have to apply to the government. Then the government will scrutinize the application. Then they will allow the private players. So defense company business is open to the private players, but they can start only with the government permission. Same angle, aerospace equipments. So when you want to manufacture, you have to get the government permission. Then alcohol, when you want to produce, we cannot start our company on our own. We have to get the government license for alcohol. And then to start the manufacturing tobacco or any cigarette-based products, okay, so tobacco-based products like cigarette, okay. Then we have to wait for government permission. Then we have to start the business. Then making any dangerous explosives, okay, when you want to manufacture, you can manufacture, but with government license, explosives. The next thing is regarding gunpowder. Okay, when you want to manufacture gunpowder, you have to wait for government permission. Like that, government has classified some areas as coming under license, which means it is not reserved, it is de-reserved, open to the private, but government can run the business, open the business only with government license. That is called as licensing. That's the next slide. Write the heading, de-licensing of industries. Okay, thank you, Asha. Yes, Hindustan Aviation, Karthik has given. Yes, you are right. Many companies, Karthik. Okay, we got Sivapriya. PPP is not privatization. Yes, Sivapriya. You will learn. PPP, in the PPP, the asset government will get back. Government will get back the asset after a particular period, which I told you, no. So for Asha, I think I told. Okay, same thing. Okay, so I'll explain you. They have to give rent for government, right? Vasant, Veda, yes, Vasant, you are right. Give rent. These things and all will come under the PPP. Karan, you are partially right. Defense also reserved, means defense de-reserved, but under license. You can take it like that, Karan. Then Asha has asked one more doubt. Is this what led to emergence of PSU? What you are asking, I couldn't get your doubt. Is this what? Then I think regarding. I think then I think if I've understood right, means my answer to your question is the industrial policies what we had up to 1991. It led to PSUs. So that's the answer. The industrial policies what we had in our economy till 1991, they have led to the PSUs. Chandramohan have given very good many examples. Yes, Chandramohan, regarding examples, regarding the points what you are saying, they are very good. Okay, so I appreciate. Okay, you go ahead with the same thing. But the only thing is regarding that small correction alone, you keep it in mind. Other things and all, everything is going fine. Okay, you are doing good. Then all the other doubts I have addressed. Fine. License registration difference. Tell you again. Okay. License it's very simple. Now, for example, banking license. Now we are giving the banking business. Okay, so which means okay, you are letting okay the people to start the banks only after the permission from the government. Okay, license. Same angle, license means start the business. Whether I can start the business or not, I will wait for government license. Without getting license, I cannot start the business. But registration is regarding okay the labor laws, okay registration for GST, okay environmental clearance, okay all the things, okay, which means you can start the business, but while starting the business, you have to comply with certain norms, okay, all the other registrations, everything you do. So that is the normal procedural formalities what you are following in a proper order is the registration formalities or the compliance formalities, okay. But licensing is all about whether to start or not, okay. The answer to the question is comes under the licensing, okay. Then Asha, okay, at the time I asked back, yes, okay, I could get you, okay, fine. Okay, students, okay, this is about licensing. Then you write, okay, write the areas. So all these under secondary sector, okay. So now you have a doubt on your mind, sir, you told bank, but banks are not given in slide, okay. They are not the manufacturing business. So we are given the examples under the manufacturing, okay. In secondary sector business, the license which comes under the Ministry of Commerce. Apart from that, okay, so regarding the service sector, the banks, those things and all comes under the RBI that we all know, okay. Even the pharmaceutical companies category and all will come under this chemicals. They have classified under the chemicals. So no separate classification for them. Okay, so second point of 1991 industrial policy is this. After 1991, we have removed the licensing procedures. From 98, we got it brought it down to 18. Then from 18, we further lowered. Gradually, we lowered. Now we at present, okay. Currently, okay, 2021 scenario, okay, in the month of April. Till date, okay, these are the areas which are coming under license, okay. Apart from this, any other things given in the examination means they are wrong, okay. So only in this perspective they will give, okay. So these are the things which are coming under licensing norms in India, okay. So 2 points we have cleared. One is regarding reservation. Second one is regarding licensing. Okay. Now, third thing we are going to learn about, I told you about MRTP, no? MRTP, any large company, okay, when they are trying to buy the company, okay, they should get the permission. This MRTP also got diluted by the government, okay, MRTP, but not immediately on 1991. MRTP Act got repealed in the parliament, and then in the place government passed one more act called as the Competition Act was passed on 2002, and then Competition Commission, CCI, okay, recently, okay, all would have, not recently, regularly you may come across in the paper, Competition Commission of India, it got introduced after 1991. That's our next point, okay. Now you write. Next one, MRTP, this limits and then these procedures, okay, got repealed. After next slide, let's go for a break, students. Okay, because with the next slide, we'll be finishing 1991. And then foreign direct investments and foreign portfolio investments, they got permitted. And foreign company, directly they can invest in India. They don't need not register a separate company in Indian soil and all. Okay, foreign direct investments, foreign portfolio investment means investing in the secondary markets or investing in stocks, bonds, debentures. All the things got permitted after 1991. It is a very important change. So, which aided the flow of funds from foreign. Okay. So, under 1991, we have done with the reservation. Under the reservation, only 2 areas are reserved, but within the 2 areas also, what are the recent changes I have conveyed you. Then about licensing, what are the changes. Then about MRTP, and then about this foreign investments. So, these are the changes. Now, next slide will tell you about the other left out, okay, other left out points. Regarding import duties, what change happened. Regarding FERA, what change happened. Exchange rate, fixed method to floating method. And then bank interest rate deregulation, all those things are given in the next slide. Yes. Next slide. After 1991, India started diluting the provisions of FERA, because we all know that under FERA, the punishments were given under in the criminal manner. So we got it moved on to the civil case proceedings under FEMA. Okay, so FERA got diluted to FEMA. Okay, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Okay, so not immediately on 1991. Okay, so this got implemented on 2000, and FEMA got passed on 1999 and came into force on 2000. But in between, many sections got diluted. Then India was following the fixed method of exchange rate, which means the exchange rate was increased or decreased by our own authorities. We moved on to the floating exchange rate, okay, and we call India's method as the managed float. Managed float means when the currency level goes to extremes, then RBI will intervene in the market, okay. And intervention also, very important point is intervention not as a regulator, intervention as a market participant. What is the meaning? Market participant means RBI will try to will try to change the demand and supply, okay, market demand and supply using the reserves, using the weapons what it has got, and then using that RBI will try to make some changes, not as authority, as a market participant. And then import duties got reduced, import duties reduction, okay, because before 1991 reduction, the import duties I told you as example, no, 100 rupees the price of the product means India was levying a duty of 200 rupee or 270 rupee or 300 rupee. Like that we are levying a duty. Duty is almost 300 rupee means 100 is the price of the product, 300 is the tax means the price will become 400. 400. So the things were very costlier. But later on, India signed WTO. And then you know that India will levy duty maximum up to 30% only. And only during special circumstances only will go for some exceptions of high tax rates. So this thing. And then this point is very important. Before 1991, bank interest rates were determined by RBI. which means what is the rate of interest at which they can give loan. These things were determined by the RBI. They were not flexible. They cannot determine their own interest rate. But after 1991, the banks were given the freedom. You can determine the own interest rate. Then they introduced a concept called as a base rate, which means below the particular rate you are not allowed to lend, which later on got revised to the MCLR, marginal cost of funds based lending rate, and now we call them as external benchmark based lending rate. So later on, gradually the base rate went on to MCLR went to external benchmark lending rate, like that, revisions and all. Okay, those you would have learned in the banking class. Okay, so bank interest rates got deregulation, which means banks were given the freedom to determine the lending rates. Okay, so these are the points regarding 1991. So let me sum up and then let's go for a short break and then let's assemble after a break. Okay, so now 1991 we have learnt about the licensing, about the dereservation, then about the changes in the atomic sector and railways recently. Then we have learnt about the MRTP, what happened, regarding foreign investments, what happened, regarding import duties, what happened, and exchange rate, what happened, regarding FERA to FEMA, okay, the change happened. Then about the bank interest rate deregulation. Okay, so in short, all these were the reforms, all these were the liberalization measures undertook in our economy because of the dramatic changes happened in the economy. Okay, so what were the changes, whether they are positive or negative? Okay, so and then before 1991 the policies were what impact, okay, they had on our economy, what these policies had on our economy, everything we'll learn, okay, after the break. Okay, so now you take a break for 5 minutes or 7 minutes, anything like that. Okay, take a break, let's assemble after the break. Our floating exchange rate, how it is called? Okay, that is a doubt now. Answer is, we call it as managed float. There are different names. We call it as a managed floating, or we call it as a dirty float. Okay, right like this. Okay. Okay, students, let's start the class. And then before starting the class, I think Sendil's doubt alone is pending. Sendil has asked doubt about the bank interest rate, setting the benchmark rate, ultimate benchmark, okay, to place, okay. Yeah, he's asked the doubt is about, so you're saying interest rate deregulation, but now also the benchmark rates are determined by the banks are required by the RBI to keep the benchmark, set the benchmark interest rate according to the benchmark. Then how come it is can be called as a deregulation? That is his doubt. Okay, Sendil, actually the point is the benchmark, okay, is given by the RBI to set the interest rate below which they will not show any partiality to any borrower. Because before that, what was happening means that before the introduction of the base rate, and then because now we have the external benchmark. Before that, we are having the MCLR. Before that, we are having base rate. Base rate was introduced in 2010. Before that, we are having the BPLR. Before that, we are having PLR, prime lending rate, benchmark prime lending rate, then base rate, then MCLR, then external benchmark rate. It kept on getting revised by the RBI. Okay, but what is the underlying plot of all this benchmark? Okay, regarding the benchmark, you would have learnt in the core economics, the banks has got the flexibility of choosing the benchmark based on any reference rate like that they have given. Okay, but why the benchmark means? Before the introduction of this benchmark concept, the banks, they were showing partiality among the borrowers. For some borrowers, they were lending at a very, very low rate of interest. But some borrowers, okay, they are lending at a high rate of interest. So the bank wanted to regulate the scenario, which means no borrowers must be shown any sort of the privilege or any partiality, or else a corporate buyer, those who got any financial background, financial net worth assets, these people and all should not be delivered the undue advantages. Okay, so RBI, they came with the version called as the rule called as fixing a benchmark, so that it is the lowermost rate benchmark, okay, below which you are not allowed to lend to any borrower, but above that level you are allowed to fix the rate of interest according to the risk nature of the loan, because always all the loans are not the same. So we got the basic category called secured loan, unsecured loan. Within the secured loan also the category of asset differs. Okay, what security you are giving, what is the valuation of the asset. Okay, like that many more parameters are involved. So the banks, they do the job meticulously on determining the rate of interest based on the risk involved with the borrower. Okay, if a borrower is a prime borrower, certain rate of interest. Based a person who is getting a high salary, he may be given a low rate of interest. But you may ask a question, sir, actually the person who is getting low salary, he must be given low rate of interest. Okay, that is the right social point of view. Okay, but here, because this person, okay, has got the higher financial capability, he may be able to repay the loan quickly. So according to the bank's risk level, so the bank may consider you are the prime borrower. So for me, the risk is very less. But when I lend to the person who has got less income, the risk of recovering the loan is chance of actually defaulting, or the chance of recovering the loan is very less. So what I will do for that, I will levy some extra rate of interest. So that is a normal business logic. Okay, so the point is the benchmarks and all determined by the RBI to keep some reference level, so that the partiality is not shown among the borrowers. Above that, the banks are given the flexibility by the RBI. Okay, so they keep a lower level benchmark. So within the benchmark, you should not show bias. Within the bias also, RBI has given some exception. So the interest rate based on the deposits, fixed deposits. Okay, the rate of interest what you are offering to the bank's own employees. You can show the bias. Okay, but within the own employees, top level employee own rate of interest, and then lower cadres, low rate of other rate of interest, like that you should not show the bias. Okay, so within that level there should be uniformity. Okay, that is the point. But this point is different context. Okay, which means banks are given the flexibility, means it doesn't mean that RBI will not intervene when they are acting against the common interest. Then they may pass on. But within that, because always we cannot say that you are given freedom. Now when given the industries are given the choice, means doesn't mean that they can do anything. They have to do according to the overall periphery. There will be an invisible border. And the invisible border is called as for the national interest or for the economic interest. It doesn't mean that complete freedom. Okay, so that is the logic you have to apply here. Okay, this is regarding the 1990 industrial policy. Now the next one, that was the last industrial policy announced by the government of India on 1991. Okay, after that our economy got reformed, and then after that India stopped announcing industrial policies. That was the last industrial policy of India. After that, we started announcing only the sector-specific industrial policy. For example, telecom sector, separate policy for telecom. Agriculture sector, separate policy for agriculture. Science and technology, separate policy. Information technology, separate IT policy. Like that, government started announcing sector-specific policy. But on 2017, very important event happened with regard to this industrial policy. What was that means? You all know that Niti Aayog got established on 2015. They gave a suggestion to the government, Ministry of Commerce, and then to the government. They gave suggestion. Now the Indian economy as well as the global economy is going to undergo a change. Okay, so there is a revolutionary process. Okay, which we may witness in the future, because the entire industrial production process will undergo a revolution, which means Revolution 4 may happen in the future. What is Revolution 4? About robotics, artificial intelligence, okay, and then Internet of Things. These things may step in. When they step in, our economy, our people, and then industrial players, they must be capable to adapt themselves to those technologies, to make them, to help them, okay, to getting adapted to the technology. We must have a conducive climate in our country, conducive environment, okay, available in our country, okay. To bring the environment, we should have some approach, we should have some clarity, okay. To have clarity, we should have a policy. So that policy, okay, they gave a suggestion, because you know that Niti Aayog, okay, we call them as a think tank. They think about what is needed for the country. They provide recommendation. It is up to the government to take the recommendation, not to take the recommendation. So in that angle, Niti Aayog on 2017, they gave the vision under the name called as Draft Industrial Policy of 17. Okay, it was in the draft stage. It was given to the government of India, and it was sent to various ministries. All the ministries, the document was sent, and then they had frequent consultations. It was sent to the different states also. Their opinions were sought. Okay, what could be added? What is your opinion? Okay, like that, everything. And then before the pandemic, last year, before March, we all were expecting that the policy will be finalized by the government, and it will be approved by the government, and it will get released in the month of April or May or June. Like that, last pandemic, we all were expecting, okay. But unexpectedly, March, okay, lockdown was declared, and then the entire economy, okay, got hit by the pandemic crisis, and then the economy went for the downward spiral. So during that time, the government actually took this, actually kept this industrial policy in the back burner. So, but government announced some stimulating packages for the economy under the name called as the Atmanirbhar Bharat. They announced, and Atmanirbhar Bharat, they gave some clue regarding industrial revival, okay, or some industrial approach. So now we are going to learn about the draft industrial policy, which was announced on 17. Then we'll be learning about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, okay, any information we have regarding the industrial approach, okay. It is not the exactly industrial policy. Atmanirbhar Bharat, you know, the different phase by phase, okay, stimulated, okay, the economic stimulus packages were announced by the government. So under the concept, making the India self-reliant and more sustainable, okay, for any sort of crisis. Under this, we got some call for industry also. So what are the points, okay. So now we're going to learn about the after 1991. 26 years later, Government of India came with the industrial policy of 2017. So, and then we are expecting that last, okay, during the pandemic time, this will be given final shape. Draft will become the final draft. But we are expecting like that, but unexpectedly, okay, no, nothing is announced by the government till now. So, government, and then in the meantime announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat, okay, which gives some idea about the industrial approach, how the government is going to approach the industry. So, now we are going to learn about what were the things announced in the industrial policy of 17, and then what are the points which come under the Atmanirbhar Bharat regarded to the secondary sector, overall industrial approach, okay. So, these are the two segments we are going to learn now. With regard to industrial policy, 17 policy is over, that's all, okay. Atmanirbhar Bharat we are seeing as an attachment with regard to the recent changes mentioned by the government, okay. So, regarding the 17 industrial policy, what were the points mentioned means, I gave you a rough idea. The policy was prepared by Niti Aayog in consultation with the Ministry of Commerce by trying to make our economy adaptable to the Industrial Revolution 4. Revolution 4 is nothing but it is about the complete automation, or about the entry of robotics, okay, the robots, okay, and artificial intelligence, all the things when they get in, how we have to cope our industrial environment. That is the plot is. Then apart from that, how we can attract the foreign investments, how we can make the business conducive, how we can support the Make in India. At the same time, how we can enable the micro, small, medium enterprises, because even the large companies, they will struggle to cope with the Revolution 4. Then how come the MSME? MSME, they are struggling to implement even the basic technology, How they'll cope with the Revolution 4 and all, because it's the biggest challenge we have. But our economy, most of the people, business, products, and then employment opportunity thrive on the MSME. MSME is a micro, small, medium enterprises. So how we can, okay, how they can be strengthened, how they can be trained, okay, these things were aimed in the industrial policy. But as it was not given the final shape, we are not exactly able to decode the things, what is inside, based on the press meet given by the ministers, okay. Certain points I have brought in, okay, industrial policy of 17, okay. So now we can have a look at the draft industrial policy of 2017. So industrial policy, we are concluding by learning about this 17 and then by closing with the Atmanirbhar Bharat. Then other segments, one by one, let's cover. Okay, so Saran and Sendil doubt I have answered. Now, apart from the two doubts I have, one is regarding Asha's doubt. Company need license to operate under PPP mode. Okay, under the PPP mode, all sort of clearances will be done by the government on the private's behalf, but it is a different multi-step process. Different stakeholders are involved in the process of clearance. We have different people who will assist the government in getting the projects done. So the main thing is we were having more complexity in the procedures in PPP in the early days, but now we are trying to bring down the complexity. License and all, because PPP, the thing is only we give the, it's not the privates are doing the entire business. Certain operations and some sort, okay, so sometimes some management, these things on the financial risk, revenue risk, building risk, construction risk, certain risk will transfer to the private players. Once they, after the management period, contract period, the asset will come back to the government, okay. Government, they allocate it to the private, so there is no sort of licensing and all not involved here. That's the answer. Then Saravanan has given, sir, in NCERT book, Indian Economic Development says, reserved sectors include defense equipment, railways and atomic energy generation as per NEP of 1991, okay. According to 1991, we had, okay, not only defense, okay, we had almost 5 sectors we had, I think so, okay, according to 1991. What I am saying is the current on 2021, what is the scenario, okay, even, okay, license Raj, okay, we have, I told you, no, license 18 sectors were under license, but now I have not given 18. I give only 5 sectors. So when you look at the 18, we are having the 18 sectors. So current scenario, what are the reserved sectors? I mean, defense equipment was the last one to get de-reserved. Okay, defense is not at all reserved. Okay, you do not have any doubt in your mind. Okay, so if you have any doubt, okay, so I got many more classes to come now. Okay, so you can, after the class gets over, you can cross check. Okay, with still if you got doubt, okay, you can cross check multiple times, then you can get it clarified in the next class also, okay. But now answer to your question is, that's wrong, okay. So what they are given in NCERT book, it's not updated, okay. So the thing is, defense is not reserved in India. Defense equipments, that's why I gave the nice example, no. If defense is not given to the private players, then what is the Rafale deal all about? Anga neenga yochinaave answer vandrum, okay. Because the Rafale deal is all about government, okay, gave the order to the Reliance for defense manufacturing. So when the sector is not allowed to the private, then how we can give to the private? When you put the question, automatically get the answer. So it was during the time, but now that is not the answer. That is a solid answer from my side, okay. So what defense, many times I given, once again I am saying, okay. And then aligning trade and manufacturing, okay, so it's okay, very important thing, okay. What is aligning trade and manufacturing means very simple. Now trade and manufacturing means here we mean about the 2 types of trade. One is domestic trade, one is international trade, 2 types of trade, okay. But here actually we have included only the international trade, okay. So which means we have tried to adapt our process to the international trade, okay. What is the meaning? Okay, there are 2 types of trade, one is domestic, international. Here we have included only in the sense of international trade, okay. What is the meaning? For example, if I am a businessman, running my own company means I may be involved. If you imagine that I am involved in some manufacturing process, okay, I am manufacturing something, okay, I am manufacturing, but the thing what I am manufacturing, so actually should be demanded by the market. What market? Domestic market, international market, okay, but what I am producing is not according to the requirements, not according to the standards of the global market, that whatever I produce will not be demanded across the globe. So what I do is, it's not about manufacturing, what I manufacture, okay, so kind of changes what I am doing, so what it should be according to the requirements of the global trade. So domestic and international trade also, but here we mean only about the international trade, okay. So the point is, what I manufacture must be aligned according to the requirements of international trade. Then I will be having more demand for my product. I could be able to dominate the market. I could be able to produce more, do more business, more profit. Country also in turn will get more profit, okay. So that is the point. So there are two types of trade, but over here, what we have meant is only international trade, okay. Not the domestic trade. We have domestic trade is normally the people will do, okay, automatically. But international trade, so the manufacturing, what we do must be according to the requirements, so that the country should think, okay, we need the made in India products, okay. If from India means, so we should have some global level demand or global level some recognition, okay. That is the point regarding the aligning trade and manufacturing. So they should not get deviated, they both should converge, okay, they should not diverge. That's the point of the aligning trade and manufacturing. Along with NITI, what is the ministry name given? Ministry of Commerce, I told. Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Yes, thank you, Saravanan. Okay. Not only this doubt, students, okay, any doubt, okay, I have given some examples, no? So after the class, okay, so you can do your own, this normal, okay, so normally because information is all about learning, and then, okay, so we have to analyze the things, okay. Any doubt comes to you after the class also, so I will be available to you. So we got many more class, because last class means sometimes you may have a thing, okay, to contact me in person, okay, you may find it difficult, but now we got many more, no? So now you can check and then you can verify. You'll be happy with the data available in the Google. Even after that, like the same doubt you're asking, no, here I have seen like this. If you come across any doubt, you can send me, so I'll get it clarified, okay. But I'm sure that, okay, you won't be having any doubt on this, okay. So any change in this, all the things I have updated and then changed accordingly. Now next one is Atmanirbhar Bharat. It's very simple, it's a current affair. So I need not have included this, but to give you some idea, I have included this Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, recent government has made some changes. The main plot of Atmanirbhar Bharat is about making the economy resilient and then sustainable. Okay, sustainable is the main aim of the many packages. So under the Atmanirbhar Bharat, what are the announcements made by the government? So we have tried to revive the economy in phase by phase manner. So 5 phases government has announced. So one is businesses including MSMEs. So these things and all normally you would have learnt in current affairs. So those who are not studied current affairs may be having, okay, may not be having clarity. So kindly go through current affairs. So just for small value addition, I have given these slides. Businesses including MSME. MSMEs, if you don't have any proper understanding, okay, do not worry. We have got separate 15-minute section on MSME, okay. Separate section we have. So in that section, I will explain detail about MSME. Now we can understand them as small scale industry. MSME, you can understand them as small scale industry. Phase 2 is based on supporting the weaker sections. Phase 3 is all about agriculture. Phase 4, new horizons of growth. Then about government reforms and enablers. Enablers means enabling policy. So these are the 5 phases, phase by phase support. Next one is, this Atmanirbhar Bharat is based on 5 pillars. What are the 5 pillars? Exam angle, you should remember the 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Next slide I have given them. So one is strengthening the economy and strengthening the infrastructure, then strengthening the demography, then about vibrant system, then about demand. Like the 5 things we have. Okay, hope you all have copied. Resilience means nothing but bouncing back. Okay, for example, imagine Now I got affected, okay, I have fallen ill, okay, I got some fever, I have fallen ill, okay, so physically I become weak, or mentally I become weak, emotionally I become weak, okay, like think some weakness occurred, okay, then coming, then bouncing back from that, okay, which means, or else you imagine that, okay, from failure, I failed, okay, then bouncing back is called as a resilience capability. Same angle, the pandemic has affected the economy in all sort of, all corners we are affected, okay, people got affected, economy got affected, government got affected, okay, everyone got affected, then bouncing back, okay, with the strength, okay, it is a resilience, okay. So resilience means, so the meaning is, some damage is there, from the loss you are recovering, means that is the meaning of the word resilience, okay. So it shows your bouncing back ability, okay. Now the 5 pillars: economy, infrastructure, system, demography, and demand. These 5 you can write, student, or else the 5 I have given elaborate way next slide. Okay, I think it's better to write the next slide. Don't waste your time. All the 5 I have given in the, because economy means what is the explanation. Infrastructure means what is the explanation. I have given in the next slide. So I think it's better to copy that itself. Okay, you copy this itself. Okay, so need not write twice. Economy means, now the point is, where the Atmanirbhar Bharat is based on enabling the economy to make quantum jumps, not the mild jumps, okay, which means not incremental, not slow, okay, making gradual progress, so making quantum jumps, so rapid jumps, long jumps, okay, it's a aim, okay, quantum jumps. Infrastructure represents modern India, so more global, according to the global standards, world-class infrastructure. Then technology-driven systems which are purely driven based on technology, without much manual intervention, with minimal manual intervention. Then vibrant demography of the largest democracy means, okay, skilling the people, and then equipping the people with the proper awareness and skills. And then demand, full utilization of the power of demand and supply. So normally, okay, tapping because demand is the main driving engine of an economy, tapping the demand and then converting the demand into supply. Supply will ensure production will ensure growth will ensure the income will ensure the living standards of the people. The points are simple, they are not much more technical or conceptual points. Okay, so the last I have made a mention about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, okay. With these students, we are finishing the industrial policy. Next, we are going to learn about the analytical portion, okay, the completely mains angle, okay. Here up to this also we have learned many mains oriented points, but sometimes the points may be asked in the prelims also. For example, consider the following statements regarding 1973 industrial policy, or regarding the 56 industrial policy. Rarely question may come, okay. We cannot exactly say that question won't come. But next segment purely based on the mains. With the next almost 5 or 6 or some slides I have, with those slides alone, I think the 10 mark or 15 mark question, whatever may be the question, which comes in the mains examination, with full confidence you can write, and full marks you can get also, okay. So that much, okay, help the slides will do. We are going to learn about the analytical part of the industrial policies, or the impact, okay, the positives, negatives of the industrial policy on our economy, okay. Now the first one is industry trends in composition, okay, write the heading, just for your information I have given the heading, industry trends in composition and growth, okay, what was the trend of industries and then how they were growing. Yes, under the Atmanirbhar, okay, the PLI schemes introduced, no, so you can take them. PLI, okay, so the government has introduced the PLI, production linked incentives for the revival. Oh, I think a student has asked resilience, and I was explaining about the meaning of resilience, but she has asked not about resilience. So he asked about resilience and what is the other point what I told, okay. Sorry, okay, for wrongly interpreting your doubt, okay. So I thought your doubt is only resilience means you try to ask me, okay. But your doubt is resilience and sustainability is the point what I told. Okay, so wrong interpretation from my side. So resilience and sustainability, okay, that's a doubt asked by a student. And Chandra Mohan, repeat the 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar, okay. 5 pillars. You want to copy Chandramohan or you want me to explain the points, Chandramohan? Kindly tell. Chandramohan copied, fine. Okay, Chandramohan, you want me to explain the points or just you want to copy the point? Explain means I'll explain the points. No, fine. So, okay, fine. Then no issues. Yes. Okay, Akshaya. Then could you please explain the last point, Asha? Last point. This one. Nothing. The point is, okay. So as an economy, okay, we have many people. They call our economy as the economy which has got the population pressure. That is a normal problem, we say, no. But so which means economic angle, we consider our population as a liability. Liability, no, which means the burden on our economy, okay. But the same time, the population is an asset to the economy. So that's another way of looking at our population. One side, we have to give food to the people, we have to give them job, all the things are there, they will consume the resources, everything is about the liability. But other side, okay, so look at here, okay, they are the people with the resources, okay, they are the skilled people of our country, okay. India service sector, we are prospering means because of the people of our country. And then, okay, all the people, okay, whether they are skilled people, educated people, or literate people, okay, or illiterate people, whoever may be, all the people, they are buying goods from the economy, they are receiving services by economy, which means everyone is spending, everyone is a buyer, everyone is a consumer, which means everyone is actually driving the demand engine of our economy. So higher the population, we have its own cons. Same time we got the pros also, or the merits also. What is the merits? Higher the population, each and every individual is a person who supplies the demand to the economy, okay. Then utilizing the demand properly in the economy, and which means imagine when in our country we got the population. All the people naturally they have the demand, but when we don't provide them with the adequate job or income, then actually their demand will become meaningless. Imagine, okay, now I have the demand to buy a particular vehicle, okay, or a car, or something I want to buy good, I want to make a air travel, I want to make a tour the country, like that I have got some demand, okay. But when I don't have the money, then my demand will become meaningless. Because my demand will become the consumption only when I have the money in my hands. Able to get my point? Which means, imagine, okay, demand, for example, I want to buy certain good means, I should have the money, then only with the money I can buy the good. It is called the last stage of demand, because demand is made up of 3 steps. There are definition for the demand is, demand means one is called as a desire, next one is called as decision, third is called as the income, purchasing power. For example, when I want to buy a chocolate, okay, I should have the desire, first step of demand, I climbing the first step. Second one is decision, okay, let me buy the chocolate. Second step, I have crossed the second step of demand. Third thing is I should have money in my pocket. When I don't have the money, I cross the second step, but third thing, after crossing second step, okay, my desire has not converted into demand because of lack of money. So all the people, they got the demand, okay, so utilizing the demand, all the people, they should have the productive income, not the disguised employment. Disguised unemployment is employment which we call as a disguised unemployment. So we should have the productive employment, which means the people, okay, with the money what they have, they can improve their capability, they can buy the goods they want, the service they want, okay. So when they do that, automatically country will have its own positives, okay, which means all the demand will become the sales. So when they become the sales, demand will become the supply. Supply means the production. Production means the growth, okay. So that's the answer to your doubt. Demand, okay. So this is the meaning of this point. So next thing, okay, next thing, I think all would have copied this slide, okay. Now I'm going to get into this slide in detail, okay, so in analytical way. Now, write the heading. Before writing the heading, let me give you clarity about the thing what we are going to learn. Okay. So what is the thing is, now under this heading we are going to learn about the impact. Impact we are going to learn. Impact means there are 2 types of impacts in economy. One is our economy, we have the split called as before 1991, after 1991. Before 1991, we are having the policy. For example, 1948 policy, and then 51 policy, 56 policy, 69, 73, 77, like that, many policy. And then 91 is the major policy, completely made reforms in the economy. Many changes we have done in the economy. Now, in our economy, because of all the policies which introduced before 1991, because of all these policies, what were the impact of this policy? Plus and minus we are going to learn. And then because of this 1991, what are the plus and what are the minus of the 1991? Okay. So we are going to understand because of this what happened, plus and minus. Because of this, the plus and minus of our economy, we are going to learn about this now. Okay. Now, first we will learn about the impact of the pre-liberal policy. Because of the impact of the pre-liberal, Then we learn about this liberal policy on our impact on our economy. Okay. Now the point is, first you copy. Those who are not copied, kindly copy. Vibrant demography. So it's all about it's about the skilling the people, and then you know about the Kaushal Vikas Yojana. So it's not only having the population in the productive age group. So the productive age group must be properly trained. They must be educated. They must be skilled. Then only the population will become the vibrant demography. Okay. Otherwise, okay, so they may not be that much capable. So improving their capability. Okay, that is the point of the demography. Okay, utilizing the population in the proper manner. Okay, so and that's the meaning of the word vibrant demography. Okay. Okay, students. Now I'm going to get into the segments. Other doubts and all I'll explain you later. Okay. Now let me go in this. Okay, into this topic. Okay, impact of the pre-liberal industrialization policy. Now this impact we're going to learn about the positive impact and then about the negative impact. Okay. Now write the heading. Next one. Analysis. Positive and negative impacts. Kindly copy. Analysis. Positive and negative impacts. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Asha. Thank you. And then Lalit, I think 2 students have asked the vibrant demography. Okay, I explained. Okay. 3. Okay, 3 students. Cynthia, where you have mentioned resilient and sustainability. When I told about Atmanirbhar Bharat, no, at the time I used the word resilience and then sustainability. Okay, so Atmanirbhar Bharat packages are announced by the government to ensure resilience and sustainability. Okay. Okay, students, when I look at your doubt, now and then I'll be moving on to your doubt segment. Okay, now I'm going to explain this. Okay. Positive and the negative impacts on our economy. So what are the positive? Let me explain, then you can copy with the help of the notes. Now, before 1991, we are having the policies like reservation, license Raj, MRTP, many more things we are having. No, because of that, we had some positives and negatives on our economy. What are the positives? For example, the point number 1 is because of the restrictive policies which we or the reservation policies and the licensing policy which we followed till 1991. The most of the areas were dominated by the government. That's one positive, which means the major role or the stake. Okay, government was holding the major areas in the economy. So it led to the, or it's an economic angle, you can convert them into the point. It led to the emergence of more PSUs in our economy. PSU means public sector undertaking. What is the definition of the word PSU means? In a company, when the government ownership is more than 50%, then we call those company as a PSU. When the government ownership is less than 50, we call them as a private company. Okay, it doesn't mean that private company means entire 100 is private. And same angle, when the government company means, doesn't mean that entire 100% is government. Okay, more than 51, who is the owner? Based on that, we call them as a public or private. Okay, so the first impact is led to the emergence of more PSUs in our economy. Okay, one angle. All the points are given in slide. Okay, you can listen like a story. Next thing is, these policies actually, because government was taking the lead role, or else already we have come across state-led economic development. Okay, government-led economic development. So because of that, government can easily plan the things, because government was the only investor, and then others were not allowed. So if I allow the other players, so I have to think what they will do and what I have to do. Like that, I have to think. Okay, but when I am the only person who is going to make the investment, means I will be having the clarity about my investments. So I know where I am going to invest this year, next year where I have to invest. So like that, I will be having some exact understanding about the investment process. So the point is, okay, government was very clear in its priorities, and government was able to develop industries in all areas, major significant areas, were able to develop. That's one more positive. Okay, which means how to convert them into point means we were able to develop or establish industries in a more diversified manner in many significant areas of our economy. Okay, like that. Okay, which means diversified, not only concentrated in one area. For example, if we have let privates, means they would have focused in the area which was commercially viable to them, commercially beneficial to them. But the government means loss making area varandalum, okay, I have to do investments all areas according to the national interest. They have done investment. Okay, so able to get adequate presence of industry in all the areas. Okay, so even presence, that's another point. Then other thing, we all know that government's the main aim is to have the socialistic pattern of economic development, and then to do that, whatever the profits which came from the PSUs were utilized by the government to carry out the social expenditures in the economy, other expenditures. So the socialistic ideals were implemented by the government with the help of these commercial establishments. Okay, that's the other angle. The next angle, okay, regarding the foreign investments, we know that we did not allow the foreign players in India before 1991, and then only 1973 we gave permission. On 1948, I told you that foreign investments can come, but the ownership is only government, which means the foreign persons cannot hold the ownership. Okay, so these kind of restrictions somehow gave some cushion to our domestic players, import substitution concept, this foreign restriction concept and all. It gave some protection to our domestic players. Our domestic players, they were in the safety net. Okay, the foreign players, they cannot dominate the picture. They cannot compete with our industrial players. So we were able to give some safeguard mechanism, to build or ensure the safeguard mechanism to our domestic players. Okay, so it is another aspect. Okay, so like that. Okay, so we were able to develop all this sort of the benefits in our economy. These are the positive angle. Okay, socialistic concept, PSU dominance, government was able to make money on diversified area. These are the positive point. Okay, what are the negative points? Okay, negative point because of this. For example, now the negative points, from here itself you can take the negative points. For example, I told you government was able to establish more PSUs. I told you, public sector undertaking. That same point you can write in negative way also. Here we are written in positive, does not mean that it is only positive point. It also got its own negatives. Even that's why I told, when Chandramohan told, okay, I told so that the point what you are saying is right, but the two sides we have, so same angle here. So the here it has got positives, but negative means we had PSU, but among the PSU, many PSUs were not that much efficient, and many PSUs were loss making. Okay, but when you write here, how you write means you should not write about that point. Here to write this, many PSUs were profit making, because we had both segments, profit as well as loss. Profit you write in the positive point, negative you write in the negative point. Okay, so we had PSU, but because of the government ownership, they were not focusing on the profit, because government motive is not profit. No, private sale motive is profit. So that much efficiency is not involved, and many PSUs were loss making. Okay, and then as a result of loss making, it was burdening the government. Government has to make some repeated investments, repeated expenditures, recurring expenditures on the part of government. These things and all, meaning of the impact of the thing. Okay. Then the same point I told you, because of the restrictions what we had on the foreign players, they were not allowed to dominate our industry. So we gave some sort of cushion to our domestic players. I told you, same point you can convert as negative. How we can convert? Because of the safety net what we gave to our players' competing abilities were not developed. So our players, okay, when they are allowed to compete with foreign players, they would have focused more on how to compete, okay, how to make my product more worthy than their players, okay. So we would have developed some sort of competing ability, okay, but letting them to grow within the particular, okay, like having the fishes in a tank, okay. So the same angle, okay, so we have not developed the competing abilities of our companies or private players because of not opening them to the foreign players. Okay, that is the other negative what we had in the economy. Okay, and apart from this, it was heavily burdening the government, because year after year government has to do more investments. Okay, like this, it was heavily burdening the government also. Like this, we got some positives and then we had some negatives also. Okay, so these are the before 1991. I'm saying. Okay, after 1991 is the same thing. Okay, same thing in a different way, in a more strong way we'll learn. Okay, but let's finish about this industrial policy of 1991. Okay, before 1991. And then this point, okay, there's a statistical point I have not mentioned, just you can add this also. Yes, Chandramohan, the cottage industries point, what you mentioned, also it can be added. Contribution of the industrial sector in the GDP increase from 11 to 24 is a very first point, data. Okay, so very first point is it paved way for economic growth. Okay, so first point. And share of public sector entities in India increased. So I given some points. Now, one more idea also, let me give you. Thing is, in the exam, so you are not able to remember the point, need not memorize, need not worry about it. What you have to do is very simple. You think about industrial policy of 1948. So you look at the points. Based on the point, automatically when you think automatically how we can write reservation. Because of reservation, how we can write? Because of reservation. So national resources were utilized only by the government for country's welfare. You have to get my point. Doesn't mean that only you have to write only the points what I given in the slide. I am telling you some point, okay? Doesn't mean that it's not the end of the road. You can write plenty of points. For example, second, like in 1948 we had license, we had no license Raj. How we can write? Because of license, the national resources were not exploited by the private people for their own welfare. It was scrutinized by the government. It was monitored by the government. Then when you think about MRTP, how we can write? Because of the MRTP. So we try to avoid the monopolistic practices in our economy. So that is also one way. But here in that angle, I have not mentioned the point. I have given in a broad way, but take them as a template. So you can write any way. Okay, you can write more than 20 points you can write. Okay, all the points you can take. Okay, that is a way to write in the mains. Share of public sector. Then government established its aim of socialistic pattern of economic development. Socialistic pattern means what I mean here is, so doing the business according to the common interest of the country. Okay, not in the commercial interest. Take for example railways. If the railways were given to the private players, okay, so now we could not make the travel at these fares. Okay, so now in India railway fares would have been, they would have converted into the almost equal to the flight fares like that. Okay, but how we are able to have means because government's motive is not equal to the make profit. Okay, so I have to give service to the people. So each and every person, even the poor person, will also be considered by the government. So private, the logic is ruled out. Why I should run a loss-making business? But government, they will run the business without economic logic, because my motive is not only economics. Okay, it's more than economics. Okay, that's the point. So you can write more. I told you, you have the template. Now when you think, you can write points better than this also. Okay, so I have given some points here. Okay, next thing. I have given some 5 positives, but when you look at the industrial policy, each and every point of industrial policy, for example, the core industry of 1973, FERA, and then the sunrise concept, all the points you take means you can write more than 25 points under positive itself. Then same positive, you can write in negative angle also. Okay, sunrise industry, how we can, sunrise is a positive point, but how we can write, sunrise industry is a positive, but it made the government to give focus only to the few industries in the economy. You would write, so it did different. Few other industries were not given import like that. Anything you can write in any way. Okay, so this is about the positives. And we are going to learn about the negatives. Negatives, I have mentioned some points. Apart from that also, many points are there. For example, regarding the labor or the job problem in our economy. Okay, so we are not able to create more jobs in secondary sector. Why means? Because of this policy only. Because most of the policies made the government to focus only on the heavyweights. For example, starting from the second industrial policy, okay, you're focusing only on the Mahalanobis strategy of heavy industry or capital intensive industry, but you did not develop the labor intensive industry. Government did not develop the labor intensive. Example for labor intensive are called as a jute industry or textile industry, leather industry, okay, food processing industries were not developed by the government. Because government considered these industries will be developed by the economy on its own, because they are less investment consuming industry. But it did not happen for India. So the negative side you can write, because of that we are not able to create more jobs in our economy. Okay. Because only those things and all, because next slide also I given the points. Okay. But anyway, after 1991 impact, no. So in that impact, the improper jump in those area, I'll attach those points. Okay. Now the positives, I have given 5 points, students. So it doesn't mean that you have to write only the 5 points. I have given 5 points just in a broader way. So here when you think about the point, you cannot attach the point with any industrial policy point. This you cannot attach with any industrial policy. Overall angle I have given. But the one more clue, one more template is, take the industrial policy of 1948, Take the concept of reservation, then the next one come with the foreign investments, what is the policy, then 51, license Raj, 50, like that. Also it's one more template, okay. But this is the broader way, general way I have given, okay. So I give next one is the negative impact. Heavy industries were capital intensive, okay. Example of many steel plants what we started, okay, many machine making industries. So positive angle you can write, it led to many heavy industries in our economy, that you can write. Otherwise privates they would not have done that, you can write. But negative angle, same point you are reversing, okay. With these negative impacts, let's finish today's class. Okay, we have 3 more negative impacts given. With that, let's finish today's class. Because already 8:30. And then remaining things and all we'll see in the next class about after 1991. Okay, which will be more important and interesting. Okay, copy it. Licensing policy, positive angle, you can write in another way. But here, licensing policy later on. Normally, how we'll write it actually, we'll think as, for example, license Raj led to corruption and bribe. Okay, we think like that, no, but we should not write like that in the paper. The same bribe and corruption, but how we should write? One example is, for example, imagine, that's why I'm giving the example. For example, licensing policy favored big business houses. So same which means how it can benefit the big business houses? Normally through corruption, but don't bring that, okay? So big business houses. So in a manner, okay, I'm giving the example, okay? So policy favored the big business houses, restricted the entry of new players. So in this angle, we try to pitch the point. Because now only you have to practice that, okay? So because as a faculties, we only give this kind of training in the mains examination, okay? When we correct your paper, so this is the thing, okay? Because we used to do this, because in the interview, the same, now only when you practice, then in the interview you can follow the same approach. Otherwise, easily, because the thing is mains question, no, we'll think as a mains questions. It's not a main questions, okay? It's a type of interview. So normally because the critically analyze, examine, give your opinion. So when you ask means we should not go with our flow, which means okay, we should go with the flow. We should go with the ideas, but we must be as a okay, carefully, okay, what I should say, what I should not say, okay. So within that we should, because the mains examination we should think it's not interview. Interview I should be careful for 20 minutes. No. Mains examination, each and every question, the mains examination is also a hidden interview. So you think like that, okay? Then automatically you will understand what I am trying to say, okay? So the thing is, so all the same point, yes sir, I got very good point, okay? But how I have to pitch the point in the paper, okay? So this one example is this point, okay? It's actually complete negative point, okay? Bribe and corruption, but don't bring that word in that word. So be very strong in your opinion, views, but convey in a point which will not affect your future prospects. Okay, next slide. Next slide is going to be the last slide for the negative. Hope you all have copied. Okay, shall I move to the next slide? Next one. Okay, so this is the last slide of today's class. Negative impact. Production from foreign competition also had negative impacts on Indian industries. What is it? This is the thing. Okay, the quality of the products got compromised. Okay, students, thanks for your patience. Okay, I have consumed extra 5 minutes. No, Lalit, actually, that heavy industries point, we have brought in negative. Heavy industries is a positive point based on economic development, based on investment, based on ICAR. Heavy industry development, it enabled, it reduced the ICAR burden on the private players. That's a positive angle. But here, regarding labor intensive industry means, okay, regarding the more job creation. Doesn't mean that zero labor intensive. We created. But comparatively, when you look at the count, okay, here and there we open means it doesn't mean it's not a generalized perspective. Here, so the overall weightage to the heavy industries, it actually resulted in the lower employment opportunities in the economy. That's all, okay. Because just when you in the positive angle, same point, okay. Because you may ask, okay, how come the heavy industries would have contributed to economic growth? Yes, that's the positive side you can write. Negative side we are pitching means heavy industry, how we are pitching. Even you can write ICAR point, anything you can write, okay. So this is about the negatives. With this we are finishing today's class. Let me do some 10 seconds recap, okay. So today, okay, we have started with the 73 industrial policy, 77. There we learned about decentralized industrialization, then about the prohibition of foreign investments, then about 80 industrial policy, which comes under the years where the seeds of liberalization were sown in our economy. Under which we learned about the changes in MRTP, about the foreign investments, about sunrise industry, okay, and then licensing procedure, deregulation, not deregulation, liberalization, all these things we covered. Then we got into 1991 industrial policy. There we learned about the dereservation, delicensing, about the MRTP, about the foreign investments, then about import duties, then about the bank interest rate, then about the FERA to FEMA, then about the exchange rate mechanism, all the things we covered. Then we learned about the 2017 industrial policy, then about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Then, okay, we learned about it, started learning about the impact, okay. Before 1991, we have completed. Then after 1991, we have yet to cover, okay. That we'll do in next class. Thank you, students. I think 95% of a doubt I addressed now and then itself. Pending doubts, now I'll attend, okay. Others, those who don't doubt, the class gets over. Thank you all. Thank you, students. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Ashwin, thanks, Ashwin. Sir, please be careful when you are going out. Yes, yes, okay. Yes, thanks for your caring words, Ashwin. Yes, normally, okay. So, I'll be very careful. So, I'll take your words. Okay.